Avatar: The Way of Water is the long-gestating sequel to the mammoth hit from 2009, Avatar, also directed by James Cameron. If this teaches us anything, it is that more than likely you shouldn't bet against James Cameron, as his high-profile sequel soared to $1 billion worldwide in only 14 days and, when all is said and done, will probably be one of only a handful of films to make over $2 billion. Despite a 13-year hiatus, all of the principal actors returned to reprise their roles, including Sam Worthington, Zoe Saldana, Stephen Lang and Sigourney Weaver. The film is a technical marvel, and much of the delay was due to the need to actually develop the appropriate technology to allow filming Cameron's meticulous vision. At least one more Avatar film will be produced, with the potential for more if they keep being successful. It is 12 years after the events of the first film, and Jake Sully is the chief of his clan and lives with his wife Neytiri and their 3 children, plus the adopted daughter of Grace's comatose avatar, whose conception is a mystery. The daughter, Kiri, is also played by Sigourney Weaver, who played Grace in the previous film. Another constant presence is a human boy called Spider, who is a child of the deceased Miles Quaritch. The kid was too young to be put in cryostasis at the time most of the humans were expelled, and thus was allowed to stay growing up wild and much more Na'vi than human. Spider is, of course, practically inseparable from Sully's kids, so you can see the potential for drama here. The Sky People, as they are called, have returned, with the aim now being to colonize rather than plunder, as the Earth is dying. The Sky People once again return with avatars of their own, but this time, instead of transferring a live human's consciousness into the avatar, they were able to upload the thoughts and memories of deceased soldiers, including the major antagonist from the first film, Quaritch, who serves as this avatar contingent's leader. On a raid, Quaritch's avatars manage to capture Jake's kids, including Spider. All of the kids are liberated except Spider, who ends up begrudgingly aiding Quaritch. There is some sort of father-son bonding that does occur, however, Spider remains predominantly loyal to his adopted Na'vi family. Jake Sully decides the best thing for the tribe is for him to take his family and flee. They eventually land with the reef people and need to learn the way of water to live there and be of use. There are growing pains for the family as they attempt to learn the ways of the new tribe. The children especially struggle as they don't fit in with the other kids. Of course, Quaritch does not just let Sully and his family run and eventually tracks them to the reef people and begins a shock and awe campaign of violence to flush them out. The kids get captured again, and eventually a big showdown occurs, and of course with Cameron it is a spectacle of a showdown, and while the side of right prevails, as one would expect, they do clearly leave room for the story to continue on. Cameron has clearly created a sumptuous visual feast with motion capture technology at the most cutting edge that it has ever been, and I don't want to undersell the special effects, as those special effects are why people are tuning in. It is why people are spending top dollar on premium seats at the best screens they can find, because, story aside, this film demands to be seen in that format. Much like the first film, The Way of Water feels like all of the creative effort was put into the technical aspect of the film, and the story is, for the most part, basic. In fact, there are many very similar themes to the first story. As Jake initially needed to gain the trust of the forest people and bond with their mounts, the family goes through the exact same trials when they get to the reef people. This film actually may take a step backwards with the plot due to some gaping plot holes that they just plow through with all their fancy effects, hoping nobody is paying too close attention to things like the narrative. It is an incredibly bizarre shift that in the first film the human invaders were looking for the universe's most expensive mineral, and only 12 years later the Earth is dying, so now finding a new home is the mission du jour. Somewhere in there they just managed to uncover a completely different substance that everybody is after. And there is no mention of the unobtainium that drove the entire plot of the first film. The other huge flaw is the main driver for this film, which is Quaritch's pursuit of Jake Sully, which seems very much like a vendetta from his past life, although it is not framed that way. The story only casually mentions why so many resources are being exhausted to hunt down this former chieftain. The script does not make it clear whether or not the Sky People seek to inhabit Pandora along with the Na'vi, or if they are seeking to destroy them or pacify them. I think ultimately the aim, for now, is pacification, and they believe getting Jake Sully will somehow accomplish that, although once his family goes into exile that makes zero sense. It is super frustrating to see such an impressive display and see the narrative squandered. I will give James Cameron all the credit in the world, as he has made a movie that everyone believes needs to be seen in theaters on the big screen, and I agree with that sentiment. Due to the visual effects alone, this is a special film. However, these films of his are never going to be great until he can really develop the narrative beyond these basic confines he has laid out, while also making the story actually make sense within the larger framework of the film. As with the first movie, Avatar: The Way of Water is a beautiful yet flawed ideal.